All right. So, Amit, you are one of the people who are very successful in graduate student supervision. You've supervised many students, not only many students, but many successful students who went on to industry, to academia, to government, and hold key positions. So, can you tell us what your lab looks like? How do you deal with your students? How do you interact with your students? And what is it that makes your students so successful?
Thank you, Ebrahim, for an excellent question. In fact, this is probably one of the most important things that students need to understand. Let me start my answer by recalling a movie I saw a long time ago. I think it was a movie in 80s. The name of the movie is Trading Places. And the two main actors in that movie are Dan Aykroyd and what is his name? No, Eddie Murphy. So the story is very briefly. Eddie Murphy is a petty crime, petty thief doing petty crimes,
Right.
and Dan Aykroyd is Ivy educated MBA who is very successful in Wall Street. And then two brothers in their 60s who are running, who are very successful, very wealthy people. They had a $1 bet. Is the gene more important, the genes, the pedigree more important, or the environment, or the ecosystem? And so they switch, the engineer switching of the, places. And Dan Aykroyd was put into a situation where he got arrested and lost all his money. And then, and Eddie Murphy took his position on the Wall Street. And the end result is that uh, it showed that Eddie Murphy was very successful when the environment changed. So the importance of environment is very important. Well, the movie was also interesting just as an entertainment, because then these two guys find that out and take the vengeance on those people who did the bet and change their life. But this ecosystem that your advisor provides is extremely critical. So it is the advisor himself or herself, but beyond that, the ecosystem that you have. It's like, it's not that who your father is, but your family in that sense. And I have figured out a way to really provide, a unique, sort of environment for the students to really succeed in a way that is not possible in the traditional thing about working with an advisor who has written a proposal. So you're going to work on that project that advisor has identified and write some papers and publish and get your degree. That's not at all the modus operandi. First of all, my lab is so far has been large lab. So it's a large team. And so what happens is, because of that, you have either a postdoc or currently I have a senior associate research professor working with me. So they are available. I have excellent relations with my colleagues, so I know I don't know everything, and some of my colleagues may know something that my students may work for. Their students are welcome to come and talk to me, but I very much encourage my students to go to them on technical things, on something very specific. And so they can, really learn from many more people. And then, because typical size of my lab is about 20 people. Currently I have 15, 16 PhD students, some masters, very few undergrads, but 2, 3 undergrads, 3, 4 masters, then some visiting interns, or so it could be 25 people. And because of that, there is a broad level of capability available. So new PhD student joins, there's so many other things that they can learn from. At any point of time, I might have 5, 10, 12 projects going on. So I don't say you work on this project. I let them discover for themselves. Now, of course, before they join, they express interest in something very specific, and I have to decide whether I am capable of really guiding them, and so that I have technical skills to support that. In that sense, I look at the technical aspects, but otherwise there are a lot of possibilities that they have. The other very important thing here is that a typical PhD student would take 6 years to graduate. Now, the technology moves so much, right? I mean, 6 years ago, you would not have the kind of emphasis we have today in generative AI,
Right.
right? And before that, if you joined in 2010, you'd not have the deep learning thing. And
Right.
before that, if you joined in 1990, you would have not basic machine learning, right?
True.
So, getting a student and expecting that you know very upfront exactly what they should work on is not the right idea. In fact, I have to engineer more or less. I deliberately engineer such that at the time they do their PhD, they are in very high demand, area
Mhm.
that they are interested in working on. So, I mean, there has to be match, right? I mean, you just can't force them to work on something that they're not interested in. It must be a rich area. It must be an area that will give them a lot of opportunity in their first job. So, for
Mhm.
example, when before the knowledge graph became very popular, I had been preparing. So by the time my student got PhD, there was a lot of demand for that
Mhm.
skill. Or same as use of knowledge with machine learning or deep learning. Again, initially it was all statistical AI in this part of the century. Well, knowing by the time they are graduating, well, the knowledge infused learning or neurosymbolic AI are in high demand. And so I've engineered that kind of thing for them.
Mhm.
The other thing is that because there are multiple streams of funding and multiple projects, there's a lot more chance that students can work on what they want. And
Right.
very uniquely, some of the students, I actually encourage them to define their own area. Typically in their third year or so, fourth year, not and that could be something where we have general ability to work on. I have access to the technical, expertise, but I may not have a funding or project. But based on them working, I may then go and get the funding so that they can do the rest of the PhD in the topic that they chose.
Okay.
But
So, I
you
mean,
give an environment. The other thing I want to say to finish your question, um, because of students have access to the more senior students who have done internship. A typical PhD student would do internship at 3 industry
mhm.
research labs. And so this new student would know, I mean, how do I get a good internship? How do you, so I certainly use my network very well, but so in that sense, while we have a core lab, then the institution, then very wide variety of, network. I just wrote a project report for NSF grant, and we have Bosch Research, we have HP Enterprise, we have a couple of other companies that I mentioned as collaborators. So the
Mhm.
student gets all that exposure, and that allows them to, I think, become more independent, more able to control what they want to do and what I want them to do, that kind of stuff.
Mhm. So I just want to ask you a follow-up question.
Sure.
Uh, so you mentioned right now 15 PhD students. That's for many faculty members in academia, that's too many.
Yeah,
But
it is too many for
you
most
seem
of
to
them.
handle them very efficiently, but also you mentioned that you have students who come back and say, here's the photo of my newly born, or here's the achievement that my son had, all of that. So it seems that you have a very close personal relationship with these students as well. How do you manage so many students and also manage to have a very good working personal relationship with them?
So I follow the model of what is called Gurukul. So
Mhm.
in old India, there used to be this rishi muni or gurus who were good at various different things, teaching how to do bow and arrow, or teaching how to use a sword, or teaching them about secrets of life or whatever, right? And so they would have ashram, and the parent of a 7 8 year old would take the child and leave it at the guru's doorstep, and that student will be part of the guru's family,
Mhm.
meaning the guru's wife is his kind of mother, guru is his father, or in our current modern thing it will be an academic father, and they will all live together and spend, they will help with cooking and gathering wood and everything, right? But they're completely taken care of. So I knock on wood, and I'm very proud and happy that uh, so far it has not happened that a student has joined me and I had to tell him, "Oh, I'm running out of funds, wrap it up." I have capacity to give them whatever time it needs for them to mature to get the job they want. So this also means you spend a lot of time with them. So I'm available to my students 24/7, meaning by the time I wake up to the end and in the weekends. And we have meetings in the weekends. We have whenever, so we have structured meetings, but then we have, informal meeting whenever they want. They come in. I I don't need them to or expect, but they can come and talk to me about their personal problems. I've seen, students come to me and talk about mental health issues that now many students have. And I have to support them, and I do take care of that. They come and talk about their breakups. What I'm saying is that it is really one now. Everybody can maintain whatever independence they want. There is no expectation that you become, personal per se. But whatever that they are doing, another interesting thing is that when they are doing PhD with me, they are spending a very concentrated amount of time in my lab, my ecosystem.
Right.
In fact, they would have finished their undergraduate typically. Typically, when they did undergraduate for those 4 5 years, they were very independent. They have hardly seen their parents. But once they come to my environment, they will see me a lot more than they had seen their parents in the recent past years. Lot more, right? Almost every day. So I think there is a trust that you develop, and when they need help, they come and talk to them. Sometimes you have to become tough and deal with certain issues, but so I think that's thing about providing an environment where, look, the other important thing is that they are with me for getting their degree and getting ready for their career. But the life goes on. Some of them in my own labs, they meet each other and they become partners, and they married later on, and so on and so forth, right? And some of them had, as I said, breakups, so whatever they had death of in the family. So that life goes on. You have to be aware of that, because if they can't deal with their mental health issues or disappointment of paper rejection, they won't be productive. So you have to be understanding of the challenges holistically that they face, and then give them the support that they need. There's also a lot of work that goes on behind the scene that they don't know. For example, I'm the biggest advocate of my students. That means that I remember a PhD student of mine. She got 4 academic interviews and got 3 offers from these 4.
Wow.
But for all those 4 interviews, I did connect with the search committee and or said that my student is in the market to just open the door. Of course, the student has to be good to walk through the door. I can't do that. But opening the door, so that is the benefit you get. Just like you go to MIT or Harvard or Stanford, there is certain value of the brand.
Yes.
I give my own type of value to them because they worked hard to get where they are now.
That's amazing, Amit. Amazing.